So right now I have 5 active pairs of shoes in my rotation, and I went through from today all the way back to January 1st and counted up in an Excel sheet or a spreadsheet. I use Google Sheets for it, how many miles I've actually run. And it was surprising how inconsistent it was. 6.09 miles, 8.25 per mile, running a little bit slower than intended today. Legs are definitely feeling it, still feeling it from the track workout on Saturday, a long run on Sunday, and then spending the afternoon Sunday at the parade with my daughter. Legs are definitely tired. But the one thing that I want to talk about today is the fact that I don't think Strava can keep track of the miles that you've put on your shoes correctly. Now, I think that for most people, it probably works out fine, and I haven't really noticed a problem until I started collecting a much larger number of shoes that I had in the active rotation. And so what Strava lets you do is you can add shoes to your account, and then when you finish a run, you can then select from like a drop-down box or like a picker which shoes you ran in on that particular activity, which is good because then it lets you know and it sends you reminders like every however many miles you want to set it at. Mine I usually set at 250 miles, that to remind you, hey, your shoes are at 250, you should consider replacing them soon. And I've done that and it's worked out fine, or at least not to an extent that I was concerned about whether Strava can add. But I have about 5 or 6 shoes in the rotation right now. And what I have noticed is that sometimes, and I started noticing this with the Epic React, I would add a run, but my Epic React mileage counter wouldn't go up. I couldn't figure that out, so then I would try and like edit the activity, go switch it to a different shoe, and then switch it back to the Epic React to kind of like push a change, and it still wouldn't change the tracked number that Strava's keeping. So I'm not sure exactly how that database is working. I'm not sure where those miles are being counted. But it got to the point today where I was so concerned that I wanted to audit essentially what Strava was doing. And so I literally spent about an hour today. I went through every run that I ran from today through January 1st and counted up all the miles in a Google Sheet or an Excel sheet. It was surprising how inconsistent it was. For some shoes, I'm looking at the Epic React, even though those were the ones that I first started to notice a problem with, they were spot on. 158.2 miles on that shoe, and the Asics Dynaflight 2, a shoe that is a quirky little shoe that I actually really love and just doesn't get enough attention from me because I've got too many other shoes going on. It had 35.8 miles by my count and by Strava's count. So for some reason, that shoe gets counted just fine. Where it gets really weird though is with the Kinvara 9. I counted 170.05 miles. Strava counted 167, so not a huge discrepancy. But in the Ultra Boost that I have so far, I'm at 96.45 miles, and Strava only has me at 77.3. So it's off by like more than 19 miles. So that's a little bit strange. And what I've been thinking that it might be due to is that whatever it is that's counting the miles on your shoes, it's not doing that instantly. And I think sometimes there's a little bit of a delay. And that's why I think the Epic React count is correct. Is because I haven't run in the Epic React. I think I've run in them like once in the last month, but really it's been maybe 2 months since I run in them. Basically since I was in Arizona for that work trip. And so that's why I think that one is correct. And 19 miles of discrepancy being for that Ultra Boost was the amount of my this morning and Sunday's run together. I did 13.22 and then 6. So that gives me a little bit more than 19 miles for the last 2 runs. And for whatever reason, my Garmin watch didn't push the activity over. So I had to kind of like I had to open the Garmin app, make sure it connected, and then it pushed activities. And so the activity came later. And so I think that's when Strava has a problem with it. And the other thing to think about is that I tweeted about my shoe mileage earlier this month on June 21st. And on that day, I took a screenshot from my phone of the mileage that I had. And the mileage that I had listed for the Pegasus 35 was 12 miles less than it was listed as yesterday, even though I know that I haven't run in the Pegasus 35 in the last however many days, because I've been running in the Ultra Boost Parleys. And so I think part of the issue is that the Pegasus 35 come up first in my list in Strava. And so it's kind of the default shoe that gets selected. And so even though I go back later and edit the activity, so usually the activity goes from my watch to my phone on Strava, I'll go in and it by default says morning run or afternoon run or whatever. I'll edit it, change the title, add a photo, and then pick the shoes. I think that if I don't do that fast enough, it automatically goes to the first one in the list, which is the Pegasus 35, which then adds it to the Pegasus 35's run total. But even though I go and edit it later, it's not taking off the Pegasus 35 and then adding it to whatever shoe that I'm on. So that's like another thing that's happening. I'm not sure why. I don't know what's going on with it. But for something like Strava, where I'm going through the effort of adding my shoes, entering in the model name, picking which shoe I ran in on each run, something like Edition should be a relatively easy thing for it to manage. And yet it's just being really inconsistent and unreliable, so that I am currently keeping my own official count in an Excel sheet and a spreadsheet. I'm using Google Sheets for it. There is, of course, the possibility that I'm introducing error by incorrectly typing in data or things like that. I guess for most people, that's probably not a huge deal, but for me, it is. I'm probably a unique use case. Although if you think about a lot of the people that use Strava, and especially like Strava Premium, I'm probably not. I'm probably one of the least fanatical people about the statistics that Strava has in its user population. And so at this point, I'm like thinking about trying Strava Premium, at least the trial, just to test it out to see if it's worth it. But I mean, just simple things like being able to keep track of how many miles your shoes have on them is a very, I think, basic. I mean, on the one hand, I think it's very basic. It's just addition. But on the other hand, I don't think it's really a feature that a lot of other running apps have. And so I do really like that about Strava. But at this point, I'm keeping an Excel sheet on my own. That's my experience. Let me know if you guys have ever noticed a similar discrepancy or similar weirdness in terms of the number of miles Strava has told you that you've put on a shoe versus what you've actually had. Let me know if I'm the only one, or if this is something you even care about. If this is something that you really don't care about, just put "doesn't bother me" in the comments, or let me know what you guys think.
Yo, what's going on?